Here's a leftover slab. Chunk of what I think it's sugar maple. And I milled it myself. It's fresh. I can go over and show you what it came from. This is a scrap from a project that is now over there. So let's go over there. Garden bed. That's pretty cool, isn't it? I think it's like, oh, I don't know, 2 feet by 8 feet. It's a convenient location because the deck is right there. Good place to throw your coffee grounds in the morning. We put biochar in it, about 2 feet down, and then a layer of compost. Whoa, there's the sun. There's some pins that were also just wood that I milled. It was all green. In other words, wet, fresh lumber. But they're down about 2 inches below the top of that. But I used the draw knife to take the bark off, and the chainsaw to mill I don't know, like something like 1.5-inch boards out of it. And this is the cutoff. It's the, what do they call it? The slab wood. But I left the slab wood intentionally thick so that it could be used as a garden bed. I can show you the lumber that I milled. There it is. Sugar maple planks. Long enough and thick enough to act as a bridge. It's not the nicest, but I just did it freehand with the chainsaw. I'm going to make a mill eventually so that I can produce better quality material. But for just a way to get across the creek, that'll be nice. I'll probably use that other slab there, cut it in half, and then fasten them together so that it's a nice stable bridge that I can use to get the wheelbarrow across. And this is usually flowing. We're in kind of a drought right now. But that didn't stop the frogs. Look. Okay, that just looks like a reflection of the trees. But look as I adjust the focus. There they are. Oh, life is an endless series of diversions, isn't it? Back to the hatchet. Well, I have 2 options for this chunk of sugar maple. One is to burn it, and the other is to make a hatchet handle, because I'm going to have 2 little heads like this. I don't want to waste too much time. I'm going to probably just put it on green and see how it does. Okay, so look at the end here. Let me give you a good shot. See how the growth rings are? I want to take something like this, maybe? I'm doing this through the camera, so if I'm off, sorry. Something like that. The point is that the growth rings should all be straight like this. So I'm going to try to get that piece out of it for my hatchet handle. And in order to do that, I'm just going to rough cut it right there on the bandsaw. 2 days ago I finished filming a video about quarter sawn material. And hopefully that's already out so you can jump down the rabbit hole a little deeper with that video. But for our purposes here, imagine that this is a quarter sawn cut. This is the center of the log. Notice the arcs like that. This part right here, let's call that quarter sawn. 45 degrees from that and all the way out to the end, that's where our grain will be nice and straight and up and down, if I explained that correctly. So I'm going to try to do that here on the bandsaw. Some of you might remember this. Do I have any problems with it? The fence? No. It works nicely. Even after all these years, I'm still pleased. Whoops. But I am going to clamp it on the backside just for additional security. Here's a better clamp, and that will be out of the way as the log comes through. Oh boy. Let me get out of your way and you'll be able to see. That's kind of what I'm going for. And then I'll make 2 cuts that are perpendicular to where the saw blade is. So that's not that far off what I drew there. Anything maple burns so nicely. It burns clean and hot. It tapers down a good bit. I don't have as much usable material down here. So since I'm in kind of a squeeze, I'm going to lop that extra material off and get it closer. Then hopefully I can closer evaluate what it's going to be on that side. Not much room for error here. Watch how hard maple is. In general, this is rough work and I'm not going to sweat the details, but sight down that and you can see how it has a dish to it. I want to nip this part off so that I can get a straighter line. I'm just going to do it freehand. I'm certainly due for a new bandsaw blade, but I'm just going to keep trudging through it. I'm going to finish with this. Over the years, I've done quite a number of presentations on video, and one of the things that you don't always give us enough credit for is the amount of skill that it requires to concentrate on your project and on the video at the same time. A video is incredibly distracting. It pulls me away, and I really like to become absorbed in my project. Because of that, when you're filming, you'll increase the frequency of your mistakes and your shoddy work by a factor of 10. And that's also part of the reason why criticism stings so much, because they're just not, sometimes viewers are not giving me the flexibility that would be nice because of, or the forgiveness that would be nice because of what you would expect out of the difficulty of juggling these things. So my point is that I have to make a different cut. I'm going in a completely different direction, so disregard all of the logic of all of the previous scenes. More firewood. Lift this all the way up. Just barely squeaks under. Now I will set my fence to meet at that point right there to maximize my amount of material. Now I know some of you are going to complain about this, so please cut me a break and recognize that this is the absolute limit to how far I will push my bandsaw. This is maple with a dull blade that has a kink in it. I would much prefer to have this under cleaner circumstances. But remember, if you are going to be stubborn and abusive like I am, push in pulses, because if you put constant pressure on it, you might, well, a bandsaw's on a wheel. Look, if you push too hard, then the blade will wander to the back side of the wheel and pop off. And you don't want that because it makes quite a bang. before I go any further, linseed oil, just on the end grain. I want to prevent it from drying out too quickly. You could use anything you want. Paint, it doesn't matter. Wax. You don't even have to do it if you feel risky. But this wood is extremely wet and there are no cracks as of yet. So I want to prevent it from allowing too much moisture from escaping too quickly out of the end grain. And I'll probably reapply this a few times through the process. Good morning. It's the following day, and I just gave it another coat on the end grains, and look at that. Not a single split, and the grain direction is almost ideal. So I'm not going to put it on green. Instead, I'm just going to rough cut it, and it's a keeper. I'm going to save it. In other words, I'm going to let it dry and put it on properly. It's tough, isn't it? That aspect of woodworking. You do all this work, and it's preparation for something that seems so abstract. It's in the distant future. Lots of life is that way. We make preparations for, well, a better future life. Don't become disillusioned. Keep doing it. Because if you stop, and now we wait this to sit and dry. So I apologize for forcing you to be patient, but I'll remind you that I have to be patient too. So I hope you enjoyed this. For how long are we supposed to be patient? Well, you're supposed to wait about a year for every inch, but it depends on drying conditions and how much you're willing to risk. How long will I actually wait? Maybe till summer.